And Karen, would you mind one final time leading the meeting?
Sure, no problem. Is that okay with you, Ed? Ed, how come we can't see you? Can anybody see Ed?
Yeah, I can see you guys. I don't know what's going on here.
Oh, okay, well, hi, but I can't
We
see you
can-
so much.
Yep.
We can hear you.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, there you are.
Yep. All right.
Hey, okay, no problem. Okay, I'd like to call to order the Conservation Commission Inland Wetland Agency meeting. Today is Tuesday, December 8th. It is 6:01. Can I have the roll call, please?
Karen DeStephanis,
Here.
Ed Halowinko,
Here.
John Mailing,
Here.
Steve Clockey. He's here.
He's here.
Matt Pence.
Sorry, guys.
Yep, no worries. Matt is present. I can see him. Cheryl Brown. Here. And John Levin is not present currently. But he may be
Okay.
back.
He was, yeah, I was gonna say he was here earlier, but maybe he'll be back. Okay. Oh, we'll keep a lookout for him. Moving on to item 3, receipt and discussion. The first item is S20-557-119 Ponus Avenue, Vitilio, construction of a 15-foot by 38-foot in-ground swimming pool with mechanicals adjacent to a wetland and a watercourse.
Okay, this is a single-family residence on the corner of Ponus Avenue and Hunters Lane. The applicant and the property owners are present. Let's see. Nick, do you have the, I'll just share my screen, Michelle, I think, for the site plans. Do you have anything up on your computer?
I have but I'd have to share it with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I could.
I can do it. I'll share my screen and share your site plan. Does that work?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. One second. And all right. So as I was saying, the property is at the corner of Ponus and Hunters Lane. Let's zoom in a little bit. This entire wetland on the eastern side property line opposite of Hunters Lane has a wetland and watercourse. The wetland and watercourse area is currently wooded with a deciduous woodland, riparian wetland with a watercourse that runs through it that is just at the corner of the property line. Within the property, there is an existing white picket fence that outlines an existing backyard area. And they are proposing a pool, which is the larger rectangle here within the yard area.
That is correct.
In your packet and on the website, you can find the narrative from the applicant, which describes the extent of the activities, including a timeline for the activities. I also included, I believe I had emailed you previously a brief staff report, just kind of going over the nuts and bolts of the application. It's an intermediate regulated activity, unless you find for some reason that it warrants a significant regulated activity.
So just to confirm, all of the activity would be within the fenced area, nothing would encroach outside of the fence,
Correct.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is there going to be any tree removal?
No.
And where is the pool code fence going?
It is shown right off of there's an existing slate patio. I don't know if that's definitive yet. It could possibly come off one of the corners of the house, but it's going to stay. There's a fence currently along the back of the property. So we're going to try to either use the house as a barrier, and then we're going to, of course, not encroach on the wetlands on the side where it's where we're closest to the wetlands. And most likely continue along the back of the driveway and back to the corner of the garage and put a pedestrian gate there.
Alexis? Can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes.
In the photograph that was included in the material that we downloaded from the city site,
Yes.
can you point out where on that photograph the pool material, the pool stuff is going to be? Because I can't, it looks like there's a very thin horizontal white fence, and I don't see that there's any room there to put anything. If you could just point it out on that photograph, is that possible?
Yes. Let me see if I can find that photograph. It was the map. So I had included
On the
Photograph,
second
huh?
page, there was a aerial photograph.
Okay, let me see if I had saved it. Well, I'll go to the let me share that then. Hold on one second. Mhm. Okay.
I don't want to take up the whole meeting. Maybe you can talk.
I just, here we go. Should be sharing, there we go.
Okay, that's great. So
And
where exactly is, in that space there,
Yes,
Correct.
sir.
the pool is going to go in there and the associated equipment is going to go where?
Up against, right now we have it proposed up against the house.
Okay, so it wouldn't be visible in this picture, it'd be behind the house.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, and the car there gives a little more perspective as to how much space there is in there. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I can see better now.
right,
What
and
it
the
is.
photograph is at an oblique angle. It is not looking straight down on the property. So the width of the backyard does seem to be even more narrower than it actually is.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question about when the pool gets winterized, where will the water be drained to?
We dump it all in the wetlands. We typically discharge it into, down the driveway, or that's how we typically lower the water level, winterize the pool.
But would you drain the whole pool or? do
No,
you-
no, we just take out a few inches just to get it below normal operating level so that we could blow out the lines and put plugs in.
Okay,
But no, the pools don't get drained in the wintertime.
For your construction sequence, you had mentioned that most of the excavated material would be hauled off-site. And you
Yes,
don't have a stockpile area. Would you have kind of trucks at the site at the same time as the excavation?
yeah, we haul as we're digging.
Okay.
We just keep whatever we need on site to backfill, which, but the majority of the fill is hauled off the site
And
as
how-
we're digging.
how long do you anticipate that it will take to install the pool?
About 4 weeks total.
Okay. Do any other commissioners have questions?
No,
Any concerns?
I would like to suggest some plantings between the pool and the wetland because the proximity is so close. The construction is only happening at the closest point at 11 feet. And I think that it would be good to, potentially create a buffer between the wetland and the pool area.
So are you suggesting on the outside side of the fence?
I guess it would be on the outside side. Is the fence right directly on the wetland line? I'm just not sure
Yeah,
where the fence
it
is.
is.
I
so-
think
the
it's
fence-
on, yeah.
I'll bring back the site plan. But right now, the vinyl fence is pretty much right up to the wetland line.
So if we were going to have any plants, he would actually have to enter into the wetland?
Yeah, maybe not actually in the wetland.
I think he's got about, well, actually, at the closest point, it looks like only a couple feet separates between the fence, but going towards the Ponus Avenue, it seems to open up a little bit. Is that true, Alexis?
Yes, so the existing fence, it's very hard. There's a lot of lines all in the same place, so I can't really point to it, but the existing white vinyl fence is approximately 2 feet. It parallels the wetland in this location, kind of between wetland flag number 1 and 3. The fence is in line with the driveway. The edge of the driveway is the straight line here. And then it comes down and you have the fence that then turns at an angle, kind of in this location along the property line. So this area between the proposed pool and the wetland is kind of within the existing yard area, where in the photograph that I showed, there's kind of a play set.
Mhm.
But then, yes, the wetland is further away from the asphalt. And as you get closer to Ponus, but generally that is wooded. I can bring back the aerial photograph if you want. Let me share. So the wetland line is closest to the white picket fence in the rear of the property, which is where the pool is proposed. And then it does kind of fade away closer to that, what's the eastern property line. But the area between the driveway and the wetland is relatively wooded, as is everything pretty much right up to the fence.
Cheryl, I would suggest maybe just swinging by and seeing if additional plants is really adding a benefit. It seems pretty well grown in over there, so I'm not sure. Since they're not losing the fence, correct? This fence will stay. Oh, John
Yep.
Levin's in.
Yes.
Hi.
6:17, John Levin has
6:17.
arrived.
I certainly don't dismiss the plants. I'm not sure that the tightness of the fence and then the wetland line, and if the fence is going to remain, I don't know. I'm just not sure how.
Yeah, no, I think those are good points. So
Does
Okay.
anybody else have any comments? No, I'm saying no.
Yeah, I didn't
So
have
maybe
any
if you
comments
ha-
on this.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Ed.
Nope, I think it's back to you, Alexis.
Okay, I was just going to say if for any application, I encourage you all to stop by and have a look, and I certainly would for this one. And then if you do go to the property and have a closer look and still think that the application would benefit from a landscaping plan, let me know, and then I can let the applicant know, and they can have the opportunity to react to that in advance of the next meeting in January.
Terrific. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All
All
right.
right, thanks a lot. We're going to move on to the next receipt, which is S20-558, 125 Richards Avenue, RAP Roman numeral 2 LLC, construction of 5 duplex buildings for senior housing with associated parking, site grading, landscaping, utility connections, and drainage systems adjacent to a wetland and a watercourse.
Okay. As I said in my staff report, this is a significant regulated activity, mainly because of the amount of material that has to be moved in order to complete the project within the upland review area, just based on the straight up cubic yardage, which is part of your regulations and part of the definitions of what a regulated activity is. But as I also noted in my staff report, the distance, the amount of activity within the upland review area is relatively small. Most of the activity is outside of, the vast majority is outside of the upland review area. And then a portion is within the 100-foot upland review area of the watercourse, the 5 Mile River. The applicant's team is here, and I'm sure that they are ready to give a brief presentation. I wanted to add in my staff report, I had mentioned that it is a significant regulated activity and that it would be up to the commission to consider whether, because it is significant, whether you would require a landscaping plan and or a biological or ecological assessment. The applicant did just submit a landscaping plan, and those are now up on the pending application website, and I'm sure they'll have them tonight. But I just wanted to give that update before giving the floor to Attorney Blank.
Thank you. Good evening, Adam Blank. I'm an attorney for the applicant RAP2 LLC. I live here in Norwalk. I'm going to give you a brief, a quick overview, and then Len DeAndrea, the engineer, and Matt Pop, the landscape architect, will talk to you with just a little bit more detail for tonight. We won't go too lengthy though, I promise. If I can share my screen, if that's okay with you all?
Should be able to. And if not,
All right. Can you see my screen? Yeah?
yes.
Yes.
Great. So RAP 2 LLC is the owner of 125 Richards Avenue, the parcel here. It's about 2.54 acres of vacant property at 125 Richards Avenue. As you can kind of see, there's a fairly new congregate or assisted living facility next door. The condo complex that had that big fire a year or two back is over here. You got Walmart and Home Goods over here. In any event, this is the 5 Mile River that does flow through the site. What we're looking to do, and we've got a pending application in front of both planning and zoning, is to develop the site with 10 units of senior housing that would be in very nice duplex houses. So basically, this is what there'd be 5 structures on the site, each with 2 units that would look like that. And this takes a minute to sort of populate, but this one's just a large document, so it rotated. Okay, so now you should be able to see the river. The flagged area here that I'm highlighting, that's the edge of the wetlands. And these are the units, which you'll see that none of the development will actually encroach within the wetlands at all. There's just a bit of these end units that are within the review area, the 100-foot review area. And the development itself, the 10 units, again, I said it's senior housing, and what we're looking at doing and working with planning and zoning on is to create a new form of housing, at least new for Norwalk, where you'd be able to have first floor master bedrooms, ADA compliant structures specifically designed for seniors to live in, with a management company providing all of the exterior maintenance on the properties, as well as offering food services, home health aides and nursing, housekeeping, so that people can sort of age in place here in their, what would be their homes. With sort of respect to the wetlands and watercourse issues, just to show you the site, you see the elevation lines. The site slopes down towards the 5 Mile River from Richards. And again, as I mentioned, this is the wetland area. We haven't finalized things yet with planning and zoning, but it's anticipated that there'll be a conservation area that is this it's this hatched area that encompasses all of the wetlands and the watercourse, and most of the buffer area, and then the development here. It'll be heavily landscaped, which Matt Pop will talk about in just a minute. As you heard, there will be some grading in that review area. I think just with that, unless you have questions at this point, I'll let Mr. DeAndrea go through some of the engineering for you.
I have a quick question. Is this, are you looking towards a conservation easement for this development?
We've not proposed a conservation easement, and right now what we're looking to do is sort of a new use under the zoning regulations, and so we are looking at changing the definitions, and it may be that zoning, as a condition of changing the regulations, requires a conservation easement. But at this point, which would likely bring us back in front of you to accept that conservation easement. But at this point in time, It's simply being called a proposed conservation area, which would not come in front of you other than to show you that we're preserving the wetland area.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. With that, Len?
Sure. My name is Leonard DeAndrea. I am the engineer for the project. And could we go, Adam, can I use what you had up before? Can you share that same site plan? If not, I think if you turn it over to me, I could bring it up again on my side, but I'd like Matt's pop as well as the, yeah, that's great. So I can start with this. The reach of the 5 Mile River through the project is about 360 feet long, running north to south. I'm very familiar with the property. I've got a history of it with family, and I've walked it for over the last, make sure I get this right, 35 years. It rises from the river up to the road, and there's a changing grade of about 29 feet. But as we designed this, it's actually a very moderate slope coming down from Bridges Avenue to these rear units of only a little over 5%. And how we started the project and its design is we started with the rear units on the west side. And because this is where the grade is changing, we said, well, this would be the perfect opportunity to minimize grading on the backside of the units, and let's set this up as a walkout, minimize how much fill we have to move around. So that established our beginning first floor elevations with these westerly units. And then we took our 5%, little over 5%, 5.5, as we worked our way up the common driveway, and we staggered the elevations of the next 3 duplex units. As it turns out, again, the soils, we did a number of test pits to the property to the south. It's a very gravelly material, very well drained, and that's a good benefit. We don't see a need for any blasting. We didn't encounter any ledge in that respect. We also end up having what we would call a very close cut and fill balance. We calculated a difference of about 700 cubic yards out of a total of about almost 8,000 total. We might have to import about 700 cubic yards. Now, a lot of that would be used up in just the process material on the road base. So more or less, we have a fairly balanced site. As far as the drainage, again, we set up 3 areas. And can you see my cursor move around on this or not?
No.
Okay, so if we go about midway where contour 80 is, take that cursor, keep going towards the north, keep coming straight up towards right around there. Okay, that's our first array of dry wells. And we have 3 of them. We have one there. We have one opposite these northwesterly units. And then we have another one opposite the southwesterly units. And those are designed in accordance with the Norwalk Drainage Manual. And each one of those arrays will hold in forced infiltration of the first inch of rainfall. And basically that's about a foot of the dry wells themselves. Let's see, you're going to the utility plan. There you go. Yeah, perfect. And then what we do, each one will have its own discharge through a level spreader out the back. And that's where you see those kind of thicker lines on the back side of the unit. So we're distributing this flow across the back so we don't have any erosion points. Again, in Norwalk, like many towns, even though these are very gravelly soils, we are to design the units such that we are not considering infiltration. And in situations like this with a high infiltration rate, for most storms, you'll see virtually nothing, if anything, coming out of these level spreaders. The other thing too is that we're looking at these various storms. We're not looking at a lot of flow anyway. We're for the most occurring storms, 1 and 2 year events. 1 year event, about a half a cubic feet per second. 2 year goes up to a foot, up to 1. And then you go all the way up to the 100-year event, you only have about 8.6 cubic feet per second. So it's a smaller site than what we're used to seeing. It's throttled up in the front, very narrow, spreads out in the back, which is very nice because where it's spread out in the back, that's where we have no development going on. And then it allows us, because of that width in the back of the units, we end up having about 36,000 square feet or a little over 0.8 acres of undisturbed buffer between the river itself and the limited grading right behind the units. And also the other thing too, which is always a concern if we're up against the river, are we in the floodplain? We are not. That was another point for starting this. We stayed behind the wetlands, obviously. We stayed behind the FEMA floodplain. So we have no impact on the river floodplain as well. That's a brief summary. I'm certainly here to answer any questions, or we can turn it over to Matt for a description of the landscape plan.
Good evening, Matthew Pop, landscape architect. If we can land, that would be great. Landscape architect from Environmental Land Solutions, out of Norwalk. I prepared the landscaping plan. Just generally, we tried to use low maintenance plants. There are 15 shade trees proposed, and those trees are the canopy trees, the larger grown ones. All of those tree species are native, including oaks, red maple, sugar maple, and birch. Then going from the shade trees down to the small flowering trees, we use native plants, the hawthorn, shad, and the crabapple. Actually, the crabapple is not native, but the majority of the plants are native. There's 13 small flowering trees. Kind of along the perimeter of the site, we have evergreen plantings, mainly spruce and American holly. Some of those fill in to the along the property line, fill in the gaps where there's an existing screen. There is no site lighting proposed. We went back and forth over that, and we decided not to have any site lighting. We decided it wasn't needed on this. And the shrubs are along the perimeter of the foundations of the houses. Again, low maintenance plantings, they stay kind of low. So that's kind of it in a quickly. Again, tried to keep with the native plants on that. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions?
Nope.
Well, I think Alexis mentioned that it's a significant permit, which will require a public hearing. Should we think to schedule that now for January, Alexis, or we're not expecting any other outstanding information?
No, you're not. The only thing that I had mentioned is if you're comfortable with it, you don't need it, a biological or ecological assessment. But like I had said, that and the applicant said, they are relatively far removed from the wetland and water course, but are within the upland review area. So that's really up to you. So I want to make sure that if you want it, that you ask for it before you have the public hearing, instead of starting the public hearing and then deciding.
Okay, well, I can just say from my experience on the adjacent property, and I know it's a different application altogether, there was quite a number of public that came out, and they had expressed a lot of concerns and observations of different wildlife in that area. So I would say that the only reason why I would think it might be good to have on hand is if we expect that it's going to become an issue at a later date. But I don't necessarily think it's needed. But as you said, we may want that information before we start the public hearing. I don't know. Ed, you remember the people that came out for this, the adjacent parcel?
Yeah, I do remember that particular parcel, and the residents were very vocal in what they wanted and didn't want out there.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to tell. I mean, we don't have any views on what this property looks what this development will look like from the back. And I think that was a major concern of the residents on the other side of the river
Correct.
back then.
Yeah.
If I may.
I'm indifferent. Sure.
Is that all right? I mean, is that okay if I talk for just a second? The clients, the developers on this parcel were the developed Clay and Jerry, who are, I think, Adam Blank's number 2 and 3 on your video, or at least that's how they show up on mine. They developed the congregate housing next door, and I think the neighbors, in large part, didn't like the mass and scale of that. And this is not. These are look like very, very high-end single-family homes, although they are in fact duplexes. And with the first floor master, they're not big, tall buildings. We've not gotten any feedback, negative or positive. We haven't heard any complaints from neighbors, and they've all received notice with our filing. That doesn't mean that they might not come out down the road, but we do think this is a very different application than the last one.
Right, and you're not proposing the lights, which I know was a big concern, was the lights in the back. And Matt had said you're not going to have that, so.
I think some of those wildlife issues were relating to like deer, wild turkey, coyote, so things that this project won't affect. And I believe that this site lies outside than any natural diversity database highlighted area. Now I could check that.
Okay. Good. Like I said, I'm somewhat indifferent, but I was just kind of recollecting what happened to the adjacent parcel. And I understand it's not the same at all, but you may see some neighbors come out for this. John, if you're talking, please unmute. You're not talking.
He looks like he's talking.
He looks like he's talking, but
May not be working.
Call in.
John, you can call in on a telephone if you want.
Make sure you have your own computer volume up.
Or you can, use the chat. What happened to the adjacent parcel is the question. Thank you. Good use of chat. So on the
okay.
adjacent parcel was a development of an assisted care facility. It had also been a underdeveloped property. And maybe, well, let's see, maybe Adam can share his screen
Yeah, do you want me to share the
again
screen?
with the aerial photo.
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
They'll be faster than me. Actually, I found.
Do you have it up? Do you all see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I found
Yeah.
mine. Oh, you have it. Good.
Do you want an explanation on that or just to see it?
Sure. So where the cursor is, John, is the recent development that Karen DeStefanis and Ed Holowinko were recalling the inland wetland public hearing for that property as well. It is, I think it ended up being pretty much outside of the upland review area from the river and wetlands, but as they were saying, you can kind of tell the size of the buildings and a little bit of their height from the aerial photograph, and that was part of the neighbor's concern. I don't know if that answers.
I have a question for Len.
Yep.
Where it says 125, where you see the one, would that be the furthest development to the west of the property, or does it go further towards the river?
You know, I'm glad you asked that because I'm looking at this area, which is a perfect perspective, and seeing the same thing. If you can look closely just to the left of that one, you'll see a black line.
Yeah.
And that's actually some silk fencing. So when you follow that line down to that northwesterly corner of the parking lot to our south, that's where our limit of disturbance starts. And then as
Excuse
you,
me, Lynn, what did you say that line was?
that's a piece of silt fence. A
Oh,
while
it is.
back,
Okay.
we did a little bit of clearing and things to prep the site area and just, clean up what had been there. So of course, we went through the proper channels and we had some silt fence established along that boundary. And that's a pretty good indicator. But I will say that when you go back up to that red number 1, the grading disturbance is, just move your cursor. I'll tell you when to stop. Go directly to the west. Come on down back to the
What's
number
this?
1 and slide a little bit to your left. Sorry, the other way. There not too much, not too much. Split the difference. There you go. So, and that's, that corridor again is longer, the way we shaped this property to make the 2 projects work. This river corridor now is longer on this piece than it was to the piece to the south. So yes, that's a very good line. We are a little bit west of that line, but that's a very good indicator of the limit of disturbance.
Okay, thank you. That's a good perspective.
Is that
And
still
then-
there? Is that silt fence still there?
Geez, my memory's shot at my age. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I don't think most of it is, but there may be remnants, particularly in the northern part of the parcel from the last time I was there.
Okay, yeah.
And then, so 2 questions for Lynn from Commissioner Levin. One is, what % of the buildable land at 125 Richards would be covered by impermeable surfaces?
Okay, let's see.
And then related to the question regarding the percentage of impermeable surface coverage, is it the intention for all of the impermeable surfaces to drain to the 3 catch basins?
All right, so let's see. I'm gonna get back to you with the total impervious. I will tell you that the building coverage, let's see, I had this right here, building area. The building area is 17% of the site is the total building area. And then to that would be the shared driveway and the driveways themselves. All the units, all the roadway, it all gets collected and discharges through these infiltration systems first before it discharges to the river. Now, if you have another question for someone else, I can go through the drainage manual and try to locate
Yeah,
that.
I was gonna
total.
just say, in the drainage manual, it notes 37,450 square feet of impervious cover.
There, thank you very much.
Does that sound right?
It does. In fact, I think it was in the summary too. Yes, that sounds right.
Okay.
Okay, so Commissioner Levin has a follow-up. The 37,450 square feet is what percentage of the buildable portion of the site?
Okay.
Yeah, so the site is 2.35 acres. And the coverage would be 0.86 acres.
450. Divided. So we have 37,450, and we have 110,511. 30, almost 34% of the entire site.
I have a question if we're open. Do you plan to have an irrigation system in your lawns? And I'm particularly sort of looking at the strip of, I guess it's going to be grass that separates the westernmost buildings from the wetlands. I can't really get a sense of how broad that stretch of grass is going to be, but I am it does occur to me that there would be the opportunity for, I don't know, herbicides or other materials to drain down the hill into the wetlands area. And I just wonder if anyone's given any thought to that. An irrigation system would tend to exacerbate that, I think, if it's a problem at all.
I'm not sure if there's. gonna be-
That's aimed at you, Len, I think, because
Um,
that's,
Well, I'm going to start with my answer. My answer is, boy, I'd be very concerned if my big infiltration arrays were under big lawn areas. For me to answer part of this question is, we've got these located underneath the asphalt. So in that respect, I'll have to hand it off to either Matt or someone else to answer if it's proposed to be irrigated.
Well, I could say that if there was going to be an irrigation system, we could always propose not to have it behind those units, and that it would be like in the front of the houses and not in the back. And I don't think it's needed in to the rear of those units.
okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, so then circling back, does anyone feel a need to have biological resources report before the public hearing?
No,
No.
Okay, consensus seems to be no. If anyone disagrees, please raise your hand so that I know. So then can we go ahead and schedule the public hearing? Our
Yes.
first meeting is July, what, 7th or something?
January.
I mean, January. What was I saying? Okay.
Well,
I hate winter. I'm just moving right to
yeah,
summer.
I
so-
like it. Move to the other J months.
Yeah.
January 12th, I believe, is your next meeting.
Okay, do we have to have a motion for that or can we just schedule it?
Do we have, Karen, I know that you won't be here. Can we just make sure that we have an anticipated quorum for that meeting? Particularly Cheryl, Steve, John, and Ed.
What date are we talking about? I missed it.
The 12th of
I
January.
haven't been renewed yet, so I don't know if I'm
Oh,
going to be
I
here.
mean, right, so I'm sorry, excluding Karen, Ed, and Matt. Will the rest of you be here? So that's, well, 3, 4, okay. So applicant, you may have we may have on the January 12th meeting only 4 commissioners due to the expiration of terms
So
I
would
think-
it be prudent to go ahead and put it to the second meeting in January?
It's really up to the applicant. I don't know what the, I did not touch base with planning and zoning for your, the hearing's been scheduled. Yep,
No, the public hearing has not been scheduled yet with planning and zoning. I mean, I think our preference would be to keep it at the first meeting in January, but if you're short on members, you could open it and then continue it over to the next meeting to conclude then, when you had a full slate of members, if that was an issue.
okay. I just wanted to give you the heads up that that was a possibility.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commission,
Thank you.
Commissioners.
So is there a motion to schedule the hearing for the January 12th meeting?
so moved.
Okay, John Mailings made the motion to schedule a public hearing for the first meeting of January. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, I'm going to take Cheryl as second. All those, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, so moved. Thank you
Okay.
very much. We'll see you on the January 12th. Is that what you said? 12th?
Yep,
Thank
that was
you.
well. Thank you all.
Okay. Now we're gonna move, I just want to make a note, unless I don't see it. Is Matt still in the meeting?
I don't see him anymore.
He
So-
emailed and said he was not going to be on. He had trouble, he had technical issues.
Okay. Okay, so just for the minutes, I'm not sure what time, but it's 6:51 now, so Matt Pence is off.
Oh,
Okay, moving on to
Thank you.
S20-559, 7 Adams Lane, TAM. Construction of a new single-family residence with associated on-site septic systems, stormwater management, and landscaping adjacent to a wetland and a watercourse.
Okay, so this is, let me just get a aerial photo up real quick. This is a proposed single-family residence. The lot is currently vacant. The lot was formed as part of a free cut in, I believe, 2003. Oh. Sorry, having some connection issues. All right, so I won't be sharing that. Let me share something else. Bear with me. Sorry about the delay. Ah. Okay, let's try this again. Sorry about that. Okay, so 7 Adams Lane. I'll just use Google Maps. You're in the northern portion in the Silver Mine region of the city. So here is, sorry, Adams Lane comes off of, sorry,
North Sear Hill.
Sear Hill, North Sear Hill Road, adjacent to the Silver Mine golf course. And let's see. Just get, some of you may remember this property in late 2011, early 2013. You received an application to construct a new house, and you approved that application. The house was going to be served with an on-site well and a connection to the city sanitary sewer system. That permit expired in January 2017, so that is now null and void. But the applicant has returned with an application that includes an on-site sanitary septic system. And so I know the applicant is here. I don't know if you are able to give a brief overview of what you propose to do. I am in the middle of doing a full review and a preliminary review letter for you, but I have not yet completed that.
Yes, I'd like to. Am I on now? Can you hear me?
Yes, you are.
Okay, first, I'm Rudy Tam. I'll briefly tell the long history of the property. I resided in Silver Mine from 1970 to 1982. And I was also Assistant Corporation Counsel for Norwalk back in 74 and part of 75. That's when all the town hall offices were in the old South Norwalk Town Hall building. And I guess in retrospect, Norwalk was about the same size. It was about 65,000 people, and now it's about maybe 20% bigger. But certainly government was much smaller. And I mean, we all were in that one small building. I remember I was on the east side of the main floor there. Okay, so back in 2004, we decided to develop this particular lot, and the back of the lot was shown as wetlands on the Norwalk maps. And so we asked Otto Thiel to do a wetland survey, and he found that there's no water courses, but he found wetland soil a fair amount further south, or further towards Adams Lane than we thought it would be. And because of the shape of the lot, and because of the zoning setbacks on both sides, and the wetlands in back, there really wasn't much room for a house, and the only place for a septic would have been in front. And so I had Dean Martin of Government Engineering design a septic system, small one in front, and I talked to Clarence Joseph, who was the town sanitarian at that time. He suggested we tie in to the city sewer system, because there's really been a very small system we could put in front, and the soils were mottled, and we had to bring in fill. Anyway, so we then approached the Silver Mine Club. Silver Mine Club had paid for the city sewer to come up North Cedar Hill Road, and so this is many years ago, and so that was considered, and the sewer now ends just beyond U Street on the, I guess the west side of North Cedar Hill. Because the golf club had paid for that line, we had to then negotiate with them, and we essentially paid the golf club something for permission to tie into their line. Then I had Dean Martin then draw plans for a forced main where my sewage would be pumped through a 2-inch pressure line underneath Adams Lane over to North Cedar Hill, then down North Cedar Hill to the next to the manhole, because you cannot tie into a manhole, but next to the existing manhole. And so that plan was submitted to the Norwalk Department of Public Works, and Richard Linnertz, at that time, who was the principal, approved the plan. So based on that, then we applied to your commission for a wetland permit, and that application was a house to be 40 feet away from the wetlands. There'll still be a fairly small house, no basement in the house, and the proposal was that the sewage would be pumped off premises to the city sewer, and there'd be well in the back. Well, after that, then, and so then this commission approved the application, as Alexis said, back in January 2012. After that, Richard Linnertz retired. The new city chief engineer, I went to talk to her, and she says that an analysis of that sewage system, the city sewer had been done, and the line going down North Cedar Hill, according to her, a fair amount of sewage was somehow disappearing, and they couldn't figure out what was coming out of the line was much less than what was going in. So she figured there must be some kind of leaks in that line. And so she decided that there'd be no tying into the North Cedar Hill sewer line. In fact, there'd be no more, the sewers would not be expanded in Norwalk beyond that point. Okay, so then we could not tie in Suzanne back to try to make a septic system on the lot. So then I went back to Clarence Joseph and I had Dean Martin prepared another plan, which he did not accept. Finally, Clarence Joseph said, well, go talk to the state engineer, the state health department. And so I engaged in another land tech from Westport, who then spent several years dealing with the state. The state asked us to put stand pipes on our property to measure groundwater level in spring. And finally, just this past, well, just a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, the state engineer finally approved land tech's septic system plan. But then, of course, by this time, mostly because the city wouldn't allow us to tie in, we couldn't complete the work within 5 years. And so your approval of 2012 now expired in 2017. Okay, so we have a new plan. The new house will be smaller. It'll be further from the wetlands area. It'll be 48 feet instead of 40 feet from the wetlands area. However, actually there is only one, but the septic field will protrude within 43.8 feet of the wetlands. And so that's what we need. We need your permission to one thing for the house, which is now 48 feet. We need permission for the very end of the septic trench, obviously covered, but septic trench to be 43.8 feet from the wetlands. And then the well has to now be further away because we have now septic system on our property. So the well will be within the upland review area, but about 30 feet or so from the wetlands. And so that's what we are asking for. Okay, good. So you can see it's an acre lot, and the house is really quite, well, it's about 1,500 square foot house. So it only covers about 3% of the lot area. The trench on the right-hand side of the house is what the land tech engineers showed is our septic area. You can see it comes within 43.8 feet of the wetlands. And this is because there's not enough area in front of the house, between the front south of the house, between the house and Adams Lane. There simply isn't enough area there for a septic system. And this shows now the house location with 48 feet from the wetland. It shows the proposed plantings in back. We're not proposing a rain garden, which the prior application did not have a rain garden to the west of the property. So the roof drains will go in that rain garden. And again, there's no basement. So it'll be a pretty small house because the garage will have to be incorporated into the first floor. No fill will be taken away from the property. The amount of, well, some fill will be brought in as, the house will be built on slab, but you have to put gravel down before you build a slab. So some gravel will have to be brought in for the slab. And exactly how much septic fill will have to be brought into the septic system, that land tech is still working on that. So I'm not sure the cubic yard, but it will not be very much. It's a very flat lot, just a very small pitch towards the back. And again, there's no water course anywhere on the property, and the wetlands are not wet. They don't appear wet when you're there, but the wetland soil, I guess they go down 50 centimeters. That's where the wetland soils were. Okay, that's all I have to say. Any questions? I'd be happy to try to answer them.
So there is one from John Levin. One second. Figuring out how I can get to chat with sharing the screen. Here we go. So just to address John Levin's question, Rudra Tam is the current owner of record
Yes,
of the property, correct?
yes, correct.
Okay. And what year did you purchase it again?
Well, I
It was recent?
was a part owner way back in the, I mean, before, I guess, in 2003, I was Ganga Dulip and I were part owners, and then I bought her out, her interest, probably maybe in 2012 or 2013.
Okay. Hopefully that answers your question, John. Levin, sorry.
I do have a quick question. Roughly how deep is the trench that's going to, that is shown coming into the wetlands area? How far below ground will that trench be, the part of the septic system?
It will not, but it's the system is the kind of chambers that can be driven on, because basically the only place for the system is along where the driveway to the house will be, and so it's a concrete, I mean, you know, it's a concrete chamber. I believe it's only about 2 feet underground, and so it's not a deep. In that area. Well, okay, yes, good. Thank you. Thank you for
Yes.
showing it. So yeah, it shows the concrete chamber, but it's made to be driven on, and there's, I think it shows 12 inches of soil maybe on top of. I can't read that map, but
Right, it's so it doesn't spec out the amount of fill over the chamber, but it has a depth of, it looks like 12 to 14 inches
right of
and a length of about 70, or a width of about 76 inches. But the amount of septic fill above it is not spelled out, but it would be, it's not, doesn't appear to be a significant amount.
It doesn't appear to be a significant amount of fill above the concrete structure.
Correct.
And this array has to be approved by the health department. Is that how that works? So we're not.
But yes,
Right. Go ahead.
no, I'm saying that has been approved, and that's what took a long time. It's taken several years, but that we have a letter and an approval from the state health department. I think it was dated maybe last month, or maybe October.
Thank you.
I guess my only question would be, I would want to talk to you more about the proposed stormwater capture in the rain garden. I know that previously, without having an on-site septic system, you had part of the proposal had underground stormwater retention systems, but with the proposed septic systems, there's not enough room for that. And I just want to make sure that your the proposed rain garden that we have some backup information regarding its sizing, and kind of making sure that its depth, that it won't be too deep to the point where it will be intersecting groundwater in the springtime. And I want to make sure that it is approvable by the Public Works Department. We now have a stormwater drainage manual that requires capture of runoff from impervious areas. And I would want to make sure that it meets the requirements the Public Works will require. And I'm working on that. I don't have anything back from them yet, but I just wanted the applicant to know that.
The other map, which I think is
Okay.
on your system, shows the rain garden. I think it shows the depth of rain garden. And also then there'll be a row of plantings between the house.
Right.
No, there's a, that's not, yeah, there it is. Okay. There's a row of plantings between the house and the wetlands, and then the rain garden is a thing to the left where the roof drains go up into there, yes. And I
Right.
think there are elevations. There's the 269 is the bottom of it, and I think the outflow is 271. As you can see around there, the prevailing grades, well, I mean, close to the house are like 272, so it gets a little lower. I think that's why originally the first year, the state engineer asked us to put in 1 standpipe, but then the next year he asked us to put in 6 more standpipes throughout the property because he wanted to see generally where the groundwater level is in many sites, and we had to monitor it throughout the year. The wettest, the highest spots in a standpipe were tended to be April and March. That's when the wettest parts were.
Right.
Is there a plant list that goes along with the planting plan?
There, it could be on a larger portion of that map. I don't see it there, but there are each of those plants there are designated. I don't recall right now what the RM and the BF those plants are.
Right. So I think that the planting plan was taken from the original approval.
Yes.
Looks like it's gone unchanged.
Yes, it's moved
and when
further.
I'm back in the office, I can make a copy of that and send it, Cheryl. But it's the RMs are red maples. It appears to have 2 red maples, 5 inkberry, which are the doesn't look like it's on there, but it might have been cut off. 4 sweet pepper bush or clethra, and then 34 blue flag iris versicolor. Does that answer your question, Cheryl?
Yes, thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions at this time?
No.
Alexis, you'll provide us with the commissioners with a summary?
John
Yes.
has one more, John Levin has one more question in the chat.
Thank you. Yes, I will continue to do my preliminary review. I do want to get feedback from the Public Works Department just to make sure that no changes are required for the stormwater plan. And then, sorry, trying to get to.
John's question is, are all of the neighboring homes on septic systems, or do any of them have sewer connections?
Well,
There it is.
they are, no, they're all on septic system. There's no sewers at all north of the Silvermine Club. The Silvermine Clubhouse and then the sort of the big garage across the street are the only things tied in to the town sewer. And again, that's when the lady engineer told me that they would not allow any more tie-ins to the town sewer north of the sewer mine clubhouse. At least that's what her stand was at that time.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I would say that at this point, we'll wait to get Alexis's report. And in the meantime, if people want to just take a look at the property to familiarize yourself with it, that would be great. This isn't something that would require public hearing, correct, Alexis?
Not outright. So there's nothing as far as the amount of cubic yards of material being moved in the upland review area. I don't believe it would require it to be something larger than a intermediate. So it's really up to you and whether you think it warrants a significant regulated activity permit application or not.
Okay, I think it'd be wise just to wait to get your report and then have people take a look at the property before deciding that.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay. Mr. Tam, thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Have a good night and happy holidays.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, we're going to move on to discussion and our decision. S20-55312 Holiday Drive, Lawton. Corrective action, restoration of a wetland, watercourse, and upland review area.
All right. So I think all of you are familiar with the applicant. And let me work on sharing my screen again.
Not sure why he's got the helmet on.
Yeah, I saw with the mohawk on it.
You never know.
All right. So the last time this applicant was in front of you, you had made some suggestions to revise the scope of the proposed mitigation areas and had expressed some concern regarding the higher, more active use of the wetland area. So the applicant submitted a revised plan. Let's see if I can make this a little bigger. And so if the applicant would like to kind of go through what your latest revised plan entails, maybe?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to thank you guys for your time and your service. I didn't realize how late your nights ran, so thank you for that. And Alexis, thank you for all your time and your advice on the whole process. So I took your suggestions from the last meeting, and one of the suggestions was moving the fire pit outside of the wetland area, which I'm proposing to do. Another suggestion was removing the non-native plants that were right around here between 105 and 106. I'm totally taking those out, so there will be no non-native plants in that area right there. In addition, another thing that we discussed the last time was figuring out a solution to the zip line so the kids aren't walking through the wetland area. I've figured out a solution where they could go across. They can get off right here at this tree, walk in the grass area, and I can use a rope system and just pull it all the way back to the start. So they're not walking through or running through the wetland area. I've also, if you notice, the blue area will all be wetland seed mix. So it will be all inside of this area. And then it's also in the upland review area as well. I've drastically reduced the mulch area. I'm just keeping some mulch underneath this aerial ninja slack line so that if the kids fall, there's some element of cushion there for them to fall on rather than just falling on dirt and rocks. One thing that I added just to point out to you guys, I'm proposing putting an 8x10 shed here, which is over 20 feet away from 106. So it's in the upland review area, but I just wanted to point your attention to that.
So I can go back to the existing conditions, just as a refresher.
So do you mind if I comment on this now?
What's that?
You mind if I just comment on this quickly?
Sure.
So this is what it looks like now. There are non-native plants in this area that consists of like English boxwood, hosta, catnip, Shasta daisy, which I'm proposing to remove. All this area north of like 107, 106, 105 is mulch, and even underneath that area, this path here, right, leading into the fire pit at 104 would be removed and would be placed here in the upland review area, so it would be outside. And the fire pit area would be moved just outside of the wetland markers between 105 and 104.
Should I keep sharing, or do you want to see a aerial photo again, or?
Wait, so how does this 12-1 plan differ from the 10-25 plan?
All right.
Oh, he's added more, I see. There's a native seed and then the mulch area is very limited. Okay.
Right. So, right. So in the 1025, which you didn't really talk about because that was added to the website, but then I was unable to talk to the applicant, if you recall, in advance of the October 27th meeting.
Mhm.
So you didn't really talk about it. But right, the mulch was all the way up to the wetlands. Only the wetland was being seeded with wetland seed mix, and mulched areas were remaining mulched. And I believe that, oops. The main difference is the removal of the mulch. And one of the paths.
And the
then-
addition of the shed.
And the addition of the shed.
Well, I have to say, I find this really a much better plan so far that you've shown us. I have to give you credit for that. Do commissioners have any concerns or some questions about this updated plan?
Yeah, this looks a lot better than the original proposal.
I appreciate all the feedback you guys had in previous meetings.
The black lines, 101 to 110 is a delineation of the wetlands, correct? And the one
Correct. And so
and
the
the 125.
wetlands. Yeah.
So all of what we see above that black line is in the upland review area, is that correct?
Correct.
Right up to the property line.
Correct. So this is all upland review area.
Right.
And the wetland, most of the wetland, it has historically been maintained as a lawn area. And there's only kind of a remnant open wooded area of the wetland left. Correct.
I think this looks much better as well.
Thank you.
Steve, do you have any comments you want to make on this? I know you had some concerns, which appear to be addressed quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I still don't know if I'm gonna vote yay, but it's better than it was before.
It's fair.
Um,
That's your prerogative. That's fine.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I don't think I saw a draft resolution in the packet. Alexis,
No,
was it?
you did not, but in part because I really had no idea whether there would be, what kind of direction you would want a resolution to go.
Mhm.
So all the previous, feedback, it was clear that I did not have much to work on as far as a draft resolution. So I did
Correct.
not do one just because I really didn't know how it would be received.
I do just want to say that you might want to check with planning and zoning on the shed location.
Okay.
I don't know if it needs to meet setbacks or not, but I'd hate to have you end up having to deal with them too. So
No,
Although they're very nice.
I'm sure they're nice, but it's never fun. Come on.
I have to say, I think that the improvements that have been shown week to week incrementally have made the situation less bad than it was. But this is still the first time I've seen, after 3 iterations, a recreation area on top of an upland review area. This is just something that's new to me. I've only been on that commission a couple of years. Normally, when we're looking at upland review areas, we're looking at homes that are being constructed in very limited ways, where a corner may be going in, or something that really has to do with structural or living needs. I'm not diminishing the fact that one wants to have a place to have fun with the kids and all the rest. But it's still something that makes me twist in my chair. And honestly, to tell you the truth, why the new shed has to be up there in the upland review area, and it couldn't be, below number 5 or something, but I'm not going to get into it, because then we'll be drawing more of these charts. I'm not comfortable with the concept. I think it's improved incrementally, and I'll leave it at that.
So my only comment to you, John, is I think we saw a swimming pool application that was just in the upland review area. Am I right, Alexis?
Yeah, you did. And so part of that is a good point. When you do look at the way that the wetland regulations are crafted, are so that you look at each individual wetland and its functions and values, and then each individual activity and kind of where it is. So yes, that was all of your applications. Most applications you see are for activities within the wetland upland review area, not necessarily the wetland itself or the watercourse itself. And then different uplands are different. So some upland review areas have been lawn areas, and others have been woodlands. So I think it is always hard to draw parallels between 2 different properties, because the wetlands are different, and the area of activity, kind of what part of the upland review area buffers the wetland versus is just in the upland review area is different.
I appreciate that. I appreciate both your comments on that. And
Okay.
And maybe let me just give you a little bit of. I look at this contrary to what Alexis just said, which I typically agree with Alexis 100% of the time. It is also a fairness issue. I know there are very similar properties in the vicinity where we have expected a much higher level of respect of the wetlands that is not being shown here. And so I would hate to be, for example, letting one person be allowed to push us farther out of our comfort zone as to what we would accept than any other people. Like, we should all be on an even playing field. So that's why I'm still not comfortable with the proposed resolution, just because is still considerably different than I think what we would expect from a very generic, fair to everybody perspective.
Could I
Kids
just-
traipsing around in the wetland is not going to affect how much moisture is absorbed into the wetland, right? And how much it can absorb. It's just sort of like, being fair, which is kind of what's holding me back from getting on board with what's being proposed.
I appreciate your comment. Just in relation to like my neighbors, I mean, that there was considerable, I'm not going to get into names or anything, but like considerable amount of like grubbing and excessive cutting down of trees in their properties. There was no cutting down of trees or anything like that in this area. I can assure you.
So noted.
Okay, well, if there's no other comments, I think we'll leave it to Alexis to maybe draft up a resolution, see where it goes at the next meeting.
Thank you guys for all your time.
Thank you.
All right. And
Happy
Have a
holidays.
good night.
Chris, about the placement of the shed to make sure that it's zoning compliant.
Yeah, I'll reach out to them tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Happy holidays.
You too. All right, the next item up is Section 5, Bond Release and Reduction, SO8 330 2 Compass Road, Keelips, release of bond of $4,765 held for wetland buffer plantings associated with construction of a new residence.
Yes, their wetland buffer plantings have finally been in for at least 2 full growing seasons, and staff recommends release.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
I'll move that.
Okay, motion's been made by Steve Clocky to release the bond of 4,765. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ed Halamico.
Let Ed do it.
I got him. By Ed Halamico. Any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? John gives the okay as well, John Levin. All right, moving on to S20 555-16 Hilltop Road, the Laurel Rock Company, reduction of bond of $1,450 held for sedimentation and erosion controls associated with tree removal and landscaping.
This was a recent permit that you had approved for the removal of some large trees that had fallen, and they had to cross the wetland to get to the area of disturbance on a slope. This is in Wilson Point. The release is just for the sedimentation and erosion controls. There's an additional portion held for the planting restoration that they did, but this is just for the S&E controls. And staff would recommend a release.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
Sure.
Motion's been made by Steve Clocky. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by John Mailing. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstention? Okay, we're good. Moving on to SO7 283 10 Norden Place, FPG Norden LLC, release of bond $29,300 held for construction of office building and data center with associated regulated activities adjacent to a wetlands and watercourse.
Can't believe this was the 2007 permit.
Yeah.
But this is for the construction of the building that is kind of in between the old building and the Avalon Apartments. And then the center is this new data center building. And it is adjacent to the wetlands that are on the side of the Norden property. They had some wetland buffer restoration work that they completed, and you had held a bond for that work, and staff would recommend release.
Okay, anyone want to make a motion for that?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion's been made by Cheryl Brown to release for SO7 283. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, Yay! We got a taker. Seconded by Steve Clocky. Do I hear any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Okay, we're good. Everybody said aye. Okay, last one. S15 477 150 Glover Avenue, 150 Glover Avenue LLC. Release of a bond of $22,110 held for construction of 3 multifamily residential buildings and reconstruction of Glover Avenue adjacent to a wetland and watercourse.
This is the so-called the curb, the orange and gray blocky buildings at the northern end of Glover Avenue.
Yeah, quite ugly.
Only the first building that went up, the southernmost building, is adjacent to a wetland or watercourse. So your permit references all 3 applied for. But they have completed all of their earthwork, and they're changing up of the Glover Ave in the vicinity of watercourse.
So it's
Is
kind of
anybody else
hard
having
to-
trouble?
Sorry,
hearing
Yeah, I
Alexis?
can't really hear you.
sorry. I'll move forward. Sorry,
Okay, good.
I was
good.
probably mumbling.
I don't know, but you disappeared for a while.
Breaking up. I'm also at home with not the best Wi-Fi, so I apologize. So this is the curb. Only the southernmost building is adjacent to a watercourse and wetland. All 3 buildings are just about complete. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can hear you. Yeah.
The 3rd building is finishing up with their superstructure, but all their earthwork is completed and the work in Glover Avenue is done. They've replanted as they were required to, and so staff recommends release.
Okay,
So
so I'll
moved.
make a. Okay,
Nice.
so Steve Clocky made the motion to release the bond of $22,110. And seconded by- so John Mailing has seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention. Okay, so just to go back, John Levin has asked a couple questions here.
Sorry.
Will the commission discuss the 12 Holiday Drive application further before staff writes a recommendation?
No, because but so at the next meeting, in advance of the next meeting, I'll write a memo kind of summarizing the entire process and all of the submittals and what you have in front of you now. And it will include a draft resolution. You do not need to use the draft resolution. You can come up with your own resolution. You can come up with a resolution to deny, or you can come up with a resolution to approve, but change its conditions, limitations, modifications, but discuss it at the next meeting. But that's it for tonight, because we kind of indicated to the applicant that, okay, we're done talking about your application. And so out of fairness to him, we can't go back to talk about it some more. But if you have any comments regarding that application, any of you can call me at any time to discuss. You just can't discuss amongst yourselves. But feel free to shoot me an email or call me with concerns. And that goes for any applications. That's strongly encouraged, because that only helps me come up with draft resolutions that better reflect what you want, because I do a lot of guessing.
Well, we keep you on your toes. So, okay, moving on to approval of the minutes, October 27th, 2020. Does anybody have any changes? Okay, I have a change on the first page under item B, where it says Mr. Mailing commented that he thought the applicant did, I would say, an excellent job.
Oh, got it?
Isn't
And
that what I said? I
that's
thought that was what I said.
I think you said it exactly like it. They did an excellent job.
Okay.
And then on page 2, on the top on the first paragraph, the last sentence where it says was more than adequate and she had no issues with the project. Do you see it? It's above where it says Mr. Mailing made a motion to adopt the resolution, the line right above it. It says she had not issues, but I think it just should be no. Alexis, you look confused.
No, wait, page 2.
Page 2, on that first block of paragraph, that last sentence, right above where it says Mr. Mailing made a motion to adopt, was more than adequate and she had no issues. I had to find something. Okay, it's not important.
Oh, okay.
Your last chance.
I know, this is my job. So, all right, those are the only changes I had. So I'd like to make a motion to accept the October 27, 2020 minutes as revised. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Ed Halowinko.
All right.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Bye.
Opposed, abstention. Okay. Now we go to adoption of the 2021 meeting calendar.
I didn't include that, did I?
You have it in the in the agenda.
Did I
It's some
include
date.
it in your packet? I don't think I
I have
did.
sound again.
I did not. Oh, you do. There you go.
Yeah.
I did not see him in my packet,
All right.
but I thought maybe you were
Oh,
just sending me a
gosh.
message.
No, I'm just, let me see if I can find it real quick. So it is December, which means that there's another year, apparently, of meetings coming up. And each commission is required to file with the city clerk its schedule of meetings for the year. And well, I will have to I don't have it here. I will have to, we will deal with that at your next meeting. Sorry about that.
Okay, sounds good. I don't think there's any public comments, so comments of staff.
No, I have none.
Oh,
Other than, we'll
okay.
miss Karen terribly. As I mentioned, this will be her last meeting unless she is convinced to ask for reappointment.
I have
There's-
passed on the baton to very qualified people. I'm very confident that this commission will move forward. Everybody seems to get along, which is very nice, and in agreement, and no contentious people. And so thank you very much. I've enjoyed it all 22 years.
That's amazing.
Time to retire.
I would only like to say on behalf of all the commissioners, all is forgiven and you can come back anytime you want.
Okay, thank you.
Can we
Exactly.
ask Alexis to send you meeting notes to review and then
the minutes.
And if you just
Or
have
meeting
too
minutes,
much time on your
minutes.
hands now.
Yeah, that's what everybody keeps asking me. What are you going to do? But I think I'll find something. But Ed, it's been a pleasure working with you for 20 some odd years. So I appreciate it. I wish you luck.
Thank you. It's really been nice having you around and to take over the chair position, whereas I haven't been able to do that.
Just temporarily.
Yeah, so thank you for everything. I'm going to miss you.
Well, you know what? Don't be a stranger. You guys have my email address. So let's not get maudlin. I guess that being said, everybody have a wonderful holiday. enjoy this
Yes.
winter season and and good luck next year. So I make a motion to adjourn.
Can we have just one quick comments of commissioners?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Alexis, I would like to go to Richards Avenue and have a look.
Mhm.
So I don't know, I need to square that with you before I go, right?
No, you can, it's pretty accessible, actually.
Yeah.
I can potentially meet you.
I was planning
Next
to
week,
go to the
maybe?
neighboring complex and go to the end of
Yeah,
their
so,
parking.
you can go there. There's kind of a retaining wall in the back there. If you go just past it, so immediately north of it, at the 125 used to have a small single-family house, and there's still a driveway that goes to where the house used to be. When I was there probably about a month ago, the driveway was still open. You could turn in into the driveway a little bit, get out, and then walk down. And as they had mentioned, they have graded out the site all well upland of that the upland review area, but it is all graded out and fairly accessible and easy-ish walking.
Okay, thank you.
Well, any other comments?
I do have a question. Who will be our chair and vice chair, or standing in chair and vice chair? And when do we change that? Like when is the, I remember last year we did some voting or something.
It should be in July.
Oh, okay.
So I would recommend that for your next meeting that you hold. So Ed is still the chairperson and will remain. So you don't have a vice chair, right? Yeah. So at the next meeting, you could potentially have election for vice chair to fill that spot.
Okay.
Well, yeah, let me, so did we not do elections in July? We didn't do them, did we?
No,
Or
because you remember 2 years ago, we switched to December because we had, I think we didn't have enough people, or we had a problem. So we switched it to the end of the year.
to the end of the year, right? So actually your election should be this meeting as well. So at your next meeting, you're going to do the calendar and election of officers. Very good question, Cheryl. Thank you.
Yeah, really.
Doing.
Yep. Those people that ask are usually those.
Oh,
I
I'm not.
I second the motion. I second the motion, Karen. I think somebody made it.
Oh, to adjourn?
To
Yeah.
adjourn? Okay. Sounds great. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you.
And that all.
Take
Bye.
care.
Have a good night.
You too.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you.